Hey Hunters, Azortharion here. Just doing my third take of this video, which has failed to record several times in OBS now. So apologies if I skim through things. Anyway, just reacting to some recently hit BM and MM Hunter nerfs on the Prepatch and also the beta. So recapping War Orders, which is a talent that has 2 points, and at the 2 points currently, it makes your Barb Shot be guaranteed to reset the cooldown of kill command. That chance has now been cut down to 50%, or 25% if you only put in 1 point. So this is around 7 to 10% overall damage nerf in both single target and AoE. And as BM is already a slightly above average spec, that will now be, one of the worst specs in the game. Not one of the absolute worst, but certainly below average in both single target and Mythic Plus. Okay, so, and MM is a reduced damage of aim shot by 15%. Depending on the situation, this is a 3, 4, or 5% nerf. And MM is already one of the worst specs in the game, and one of the least popular specs in the game. And since they buffed Demonology a lot, I'm not sure about Shadow Priest. Oh yeah, they buffed Shadow Priest as well. Basically every spec below MM Hunter, I think Subtlety as well has also been buffed, yeah. Has been buffed, while MM is nerfed. So now, instead of being the 4th worst spec in the game, MM is the worst spec in the game at everything. Everything except Artificer, where it's like a pretty solid spec. Now it's gonna be, at best a completely average spec. Because MM can't be allowed to have a single good fight. So, opinions? Well, obviously, insanely heavy-handed nerf for BM, which is a spec that is only a bit above average currently in all situations. And this includes Dragonflight, by the way. So, of course, these nerfs include Dragonflight. And currently on beta, like, MM is terrible, and BM is average or a little good. So that's basically how it stacks up. So it's basically the same situation. Like, in terms of how the Hunter specs stack up across most of the specs in the game, like, this image is pretty accurate for Dragonflight as well. MM is terrible. BM is okay. Now BM is going to be bad, and MM is going to be the worst spec in the game for every situation, pretty much. Except Burst AoE, which is the niche of Artificer, where it's just going to be a little bit below average. So you can celebrate that, I suppose. The only possible rationale for this is that the War Orders talent kind of encouraged the playstyle and build style where you were basically just pressing Barb Shot and Kill Command, which is not something you wanted. Like, one of your signature abilities, the one at the top of your spec tree, Cobra Shot, was pretty rarely used, and when you used it, it was like as a filler, like really low priority filler, and it would barely like register on your damage meter. So it's obvious they want to do away with that playstyle and turn it from more of a 2-button playstyle into more of a 3-button playstyle, and that's fair enough. But then I'm wondering where the compensatory buffs are, since now they've turned the best Hunter spec into a mediocre spec overall, which basically means that the Hunter class as a whole is in a horrible position both in the Prepatch and in Dragonflight. Because our best spec is like below the average spec in the game. Even though it is by far the most popular spec in the game. So I'm sure this will be really popular. And why they nerfed MM when like no one played it, no one thought it was good. It's a like pretty bad spec with only one niche, which is Burst AoE, which is not even that good at. Like, I've been playing WoW since late Wrath, and I'm not a fan of hyperbole. But this is the most confusing set of tuning changes for Hunter that I've seen in all my 12 years of playing this game. And I really mean that, and I'm not exaggerating, and it's not hyperbole. Like, normally you can see a sort of logic. Like most nerfs you see are justified. Like, there will be people on the fringes who think their spec should always be best and all that, but like most specs are probably justified. Nerfing an average or slightly above average spec and nerfing one of the worst specs in the game, to me, does not make any sense. And again, this is not just for Prepatch, it's also for Dragonflight. And this picture of like overall spec balance, where in terms of how the hunter specs match up against other specs in the game. Very similar in Dragonflight as it is in Prepatch. So, because Blizzard cannot make this game without everyone's valued feedback and suggestions on their forums and Twitter, I suggest that you let them know what you think about this on both Twitter and forums and in feedback in-game. And let's hope there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.